Now, before we further continue with the application, there are a few things which we can do in order to improve the performance. However, the topic of performance optimization is something which is outside the scope of this tutorial, or to say this beginner level application. But again, this is something which, like, these are a few things which should be addressed. Now, that being said, React in itself is pretty performant, which means that even if you don't follow the best practices, it makes sure that everything sticks together and the user experience is not spoiled. So that being said, if we head back to the application and right over here within the link card component, if we just add in a single console.log which says that link card rendered, something like this, and if we head back to the application, we will see as many logs to the console as the links that we have in the application. As I just have a single one, I'm seeing a single console.log. It might be different for your case. So the thing is, it's a default nature of React that when the parent component re-renders, all the children components will be re-rendered as well, which means that in this case, if the account component, the account screen, if this re-renders, all the link card components which are sitting inside of it will be re-rendered as well. And the account component can re-render if the state changes in this case, even for the open modal that we have over here, this thing. So we can change this state by clicking on this button. Let's do that. And we have the same renders once again. So it's fine for the first time, but again, like for the subsequent re-renders, it doesn't make sense because the component in itself is not changing, and it's going to happen again when we close the modal. So this is something which we can avoid, and for that we can make use of a function that React comes with, which is React Memo. So React Memo is a HOC, it's a higher order component. So a higher order component is a function which takes in a component and returns back a new and improved component. So it says that if your component renders the same result given the same props, in that case you can wrap it up inside of React Memo for a performance boost, in some cases by memoizing the result. And it says that it only checks for prop changes, which means that if the props didn't change, it's not going to re-render the component. Makes sense. So now within the link card component, let's first import the memo function from React, and right at the bottom where we are exporting the component as by default, we can wrap it up inside of memo. And there's one more thing that we need to do. For the time being, within the account component, I will be commenting the delete link that we have over here, just for the time being. If we do that and if we head back to the application, let me just refresh, we will be seeing the log to the console for the first time, which is fine. And if I click on the button which will change the state and trigger the re-render, as you can see, the issue has been fixed. Now the link card or the link cards which are sitting inside of it are not getting re-rendered. Great thing. But we will be facing the same thing. Like if we pass in a function, instead of passing this one that we have over here, because there's one more thing that we will be talking about this. So instead of passing this function, I will be creating another one, a dummy, which is, we can actually name it as dummy function, which just logs something to the console, say dummy function. Made a typo anyway. So if we pass in a function to the link card component, now even when we are using the memo, we will be back to square one, which means that if I click on the button, as you can see, we are facing the same thing. So the thing is, the function is a non-primitive value, which means that the next time the component, the account component is re-rendered, this function will be recreated. And as we just saw in the docs for the memo, it says that it only checks for prop changes. So the next time the account component is re-rendered, the memo function will see that there's a new prop coming in, which is the dummy function. Even though conceptually it's the same thing, but in memory it's a different prop, which will again force the re-render for the link card component. And in order to fix this thing as well, there's actually a hook which React provides, which is use callback, and it kind of memoizes the function, and it makes sure that the next time the component is re-rendered, unless there is something which is actually related to the function, unless that thing changes, the function will be the same. So we just need to wrap the function inside of use callback. So over here within the account component, we are importing over here, we have the use callback. All right, so now the dummy function prop that we are passing, we can wrap it up in such a way, passing in the function as the first argument, and the second argument being the dependency array, to which you can specify the different values, and if any of those values change, it's going to recreate the function. So in this case we don't really have anything like any outside value for this function, so we can keep it as empty. And now, well, actually we are passing the function, so we don't have to do anything. If we head back and if we refresh, the issue will be fixed, as you can see. So that is great. So it means that over here with the handle delete function, the handle delete link function, we need to do the same thing. So we can just wrap it up inside of use callback, pass the function as the first argument, and the second argument is the array. And well, in this case I think we may have to add some values in the array, but we will see that in a second. For the time being I will be passing this prop. So yep, so now if we save it, even though you may think that we have kind of fixed the issue, but we haven't, because we will be seeing the same thing. If I click on it, we have the same thing. Now the thing is, with the arrow function that we are passing over here, this thing, the issue is with this thing, the arrow function. In fact, let me just point it on the official docs. Over here it says that over here, so using an arrow function in render creates a new function. Again we are back to square one with this thing, creates a new function like each time the component renders, which means that again the memo won't be able to, or to say the memo will think of it as a different prop. So if we just pass in the function itself, like in this case if we just pass in the handle delete link in such a way, which also means that we would have to pass in the argument from within the child component, the link card, which we will do in a second. But just by passing in a function in this way, it will fix the issue, as now we won't be facing it when we click on the button, as the function has been memoized. So that's great. Now it also means that within the link card component where we are destructuring this prop, well, actually we do have the ID, so we can just call the function. Over here we can use the arrow function because it's within the child component, and let's pass in the ID in such a way. Now if we do this thing, we have the same functionality, but we have kind of better optimized the application, as now we won't be facing the same issue. If I click on the button, no re-renders, great. And if I click on the delete button, the link gets deleted. So that's great. So okay, so this is the root level collection, which we will be kind of wiping as well. Anyway, as you can see, the application is working the same way, so that's great. And one more thing, second. Now I just saw that within the terminal we have few warnings. First, it says that the dummy data, well, actually we can just comment this thing out, and we have two more warnings. It says that the React hook use effect has a missing dependency. Okay, so let's take a look at use effect. And yeah, it actually makes sense because we are passing the array as empty because we just want to call the function for the first time. But the thing is, if we have any value within this function which is kind of related to the outside, which is the case with the links path ref, as it is something which is coming from the outside this thing. So it's saying that you should be passing this value, you should be putting this value in within this array. So what we can do is we can just place this value over here. But if we do that, I think we will be facing some issue. Let me just, and in fact, before I do this thing, I will be creating a link card. Just a second over here. Okay, so let me just create a link first, just to see if we are not like within the loop of re-rendering the component again and again. So now I will be placing the links path as a dependency, and if we do that, let me just check. Yep, I kind of guessed it right. So the thing is that the links path ref, it might be a non-primitive value. So let me just log it to the console as well. So as we are just using this thing to get the path, and this will return back the collection reference, which I think is an object. Let me just check it out. Links path ref, and make sure to remove the links path from the dependency. And yep, it's an object. So yeah, this is an object which kind of Firebase understands. Like it kind of takes this thing as it's referring it as collection reference, as you can see. So as this is an object, as it's again a non-primitive value, it means that the next time the component gets re-rendered, this thing will be kind of different. Even though conceptually it will be the same thing, but it will be different in terms of the value in the memory. So in order to fix this thing as well, we can memoize it, and actually I'm not pretty sure about it. I think it should work because using the use memo, which is again a callback, just like the use callback that we use to memoize the function, the use memo is used to memoize a value which can be a non-primitive. Well, obviously it will be a non-primitive. That's the reason why we use memo. And all right, so yep, that's how we can use it. Let's do that. So the links path, let's first import the use memo from React, and over here I will be memoizing this value by using the use memo. We just need to wrap it up, pass in a function which returns back the value that we want to memoize, and in the same way the second argument is the dependency array, which in this case I think, well, actually we can pass in the user UID as it's being used over here, but this wouldn't cause any issue because the user UID will be the same, and it's a primitive value, it's a string. So now we can actually use the links path ref without any issue. Let's test it out over here, and we actually need to pass in the same thing for the use callback right over here. So if we do this thing, we shouldn't be getting any warnings. Great. And if we head back, yep, it's working perfectly fine. We don't have any redundant re-renders. So yeah, these were the few things which I kind of needed to address, even though it kind of went outside the scope of this application, but it's a good thing. So yeah, now I think we can start with the cloud function, which will be executed when the user deletes a link and it's going to delete the respective link from the main links, the root level links collection that we are kind of handling on the cloud functions, like using the cloud functions. So yep, let's do that.